Hey, this is Marthea Pitsy, MSW coach. So, real quick, what are your three biggest barriers right now to getting the dream job that you want? Is it maybe childcare? Is it maybe that your credit is not good, right? Because if for jobs that require security clearance, your financial health and wellness is important to get jobs like that. Maybe it's you don't have reliable transportation. Maybe a barrier is the fact that the dream organization you really, really, really want to work at requires that you relocate, and that's just not in the cards for you right now. What are your three biggest barriers to getting your dream job? If you had a magical wand and your dream job starts tomorrow, 8 a.m. Friday, because some jobs do start on Friday. What would be your three biggest barriers to starting? And I asked this question because Saturday, inside of my new mentorship community, because we start on Saturday, I'm so excited for y'all that have signed up. It's gonna be good. I got my lesson plans already. It's gonna be good, right? And so the very first thing that we're going to do for our first session is create a 3 goal 30-day action plan where I will be taking them through the process of either minimizing or eliminating whatever their top three barriers are to getting their dream job for right now. Right. So the purpose of my mentorship community is really where I am taking a slow down approach and going back to a lot of the preliminary things that I did back in my case management days to prepare myself to pivot into the types of jobs that I wanted, right? And so one of those very first things were getting crystal clear about what I could do feasibly and what I could not do. So an example of that is prior to my case management job, because I've only had two, prior to that, I worked in call centers. I worked with state government for almost 10 years in all call center positions for very well-known agencies. So I worked with child support, I worked with the abuse hotline, I worked with Department of Health, I worked in the department where we were over providing regulatory oversight for medical professionals in the state. That included medical doctors, nurses, dentists, all of the things, right? That's how I got really good at reading state policies, laws, regulations, rules, ordinances, all of the things, right? Which is a side note, nothing is ever wasted, right? That is what helps me be a good macro social worker in my early years in state government, specifically around doing regulatory compliance work. But anyway, I shared that because during those years of working in call centers, because I had no other degrees. I just had a high school diploma. If you haven't heard my story about getting into social work, I encourage you to listen to that podcast episode at macroandpaid.com. It's titled My Macro Social Work Career Journey Story Part 1. But I was at a point in my job life, because I wouldn't call it a career. I didn't call it a career back then, where I was pigeonholed to call centers. And so I was actively, and this is also during the time of where I got really good at getting jobs, right? Which ultimately then helped me when I became a workforce development career counselor with helping universal career seekers of in all professions and career types get jobs, because I was just using the strategies that I had created in my own job journey, right? So I was actively trying to get out of call centers into other types of roles, particularly like admin support roles, executive assistant. I had a few homegirls that did that. They always had the best schedules, because I always worked with the departments that were essential employees. So I would be having to go to work during hurricanes and on holidays, and they would be off, right? And they got paid a few more dollars than I did. And they had just high school diplomas like I did. So I was actively trying to move into those roles. But one of the biggest barriers that I had was well, one, it was hard to pivot, but outside of that, what it was that I didn't have reliable transportation. I believe that was during a time where I had a car that will overheat. I've had multiple bad cars because when you make little money, your train, everything in your life is then affected. That's why I go so hard about helping people get good quality, good paying jobs. Because if you get you one good paying job, your life can change drastically. I'm a living, breathing example of that. But at that time, I had a car that overheated, or either overheat, or I think this is the car. This is my Nissan Altima. This car had bad brakes on it, but it also will overheat. Yep, it sure would. The radiator. Isn't that what y'all call it? The radiator. So I couldn't go to places, to buildings like where I couldn't apply. Let me explain it this way. I couldn't apply for jobs that were like a 30-minute commute or more from my house because I knew anything outside of like a 20-minute window from my home, my car would overheat. And again, I wasn't making enough money. Even with the new jobs that I was trying to apply for, I still was making under 25,000. My first state job was 19,000 a year, something like that. So I couldn't even afford to get the radiator fixed. So anyway, I couldn't apply for jobs that was 30 minutes or so away from my home. So I wouldn't even apply. Right. And a lot of the times there were some really good jobs that were 30 minutes or more away from my home, like 35 minutes. So that's why I ask you all today, what are your three biggest barriers to the dream job that you want? And then what is your action plan in the next 30 days to start working on addressing that? Because we are less than 30 days away from 2024. I hope the plan is not to go into 2024 with the same barriers, because we are in a world now where there are resolutions, solutions to many of the things that we have as issues in our lives. And so inside of my mentorship community on Saturday, I'm going to be helping them identify the three, but then also create a 30-day action plan to start working towards minimizing them or reducing them. But I wanted to pose that question here to you all. And I also encourage you, like, if you want to do the work to figure out how to start making strategic moves to get past those barriers, I encourage you to click the link down in the show note and visit macroandpaid.com and register for my mentorship community and join us on Saturday, because I'm going to be teaching the actual proven strategies and techniques to action plan, to move from a place of I can't do to I can do. And this is how I'm going to make it happen. Because 2024 is the year of new beginnings, and you need a plan to get there. All right, happy macro career planning. Bye.